Welcome to the Centuries of Sound Radio podcast. This show covers the year 1910 and features George Kirkman, aka DJ Kuryakin. It was originally broadcast on Cambridge 105 Radio in January 2020. Patrons get full downloads, radio podcasts, bonus mixes and more for just $5 per month. Join them at patreon.com/Centuries of Sound. Hello and welcome to Centuries of Sound, the show where we use archive audio to travel back to the ancient history of recorded sound. My name is James Errington. I run the website centuriesofsound.com, where I make these recordings into mixes from 1853 to the present day. And today I'm joined by...
I'm George Kirkman.
And could you tell us something about you are also a presenter on Cambridge 105?
I certainly am. Under the name DJ Kuryakin, I produce and present Revelation Time, which is the fortnightly reggae show on a Saturday.
And as far as reggae goes, is that something you've been into for all your life?
Over 40 years.
Over 40 years. We don't really have any reggae today because we're going back to the year 1910.
No, it wasn't around in those days, definitely.
Definitely not. So what's your impression of the year 1910? What kind of things do you think we're going to be hearing?
1910, I would say potentially... It lies somewhere between the latter days of Victorian, well, it wouldn't have been Victorian, of course, but Victorian music hall, and the perhaps early days of certain strands of jazz as well. So I suspect there may be something lying in between between those genres, and a little bit of classical as well, and possibly a popular song that. I don't know, I'm guessing that you may have some surprises that people say, oh, is that old?
Indeed, I think that's kind of a good summary. So let's go to one of those things, which is the run-up to jazz, which is quite a convoluted run-up, I would say. We're not in the jazz era at all at this point, but let's have a listen to some things that will kind of feed through into that. The first one is some ragtime. This is ragtime. What kind of music do you think of when you hear the word ragtime?
I think of Scott Joplin, and I don't know, the first time I became aware of ragtime was when I was quite young, and the film The Sting came out with Robert Redford and Paul Newman, and it had a sort of ragtime theme to it.
Well, the ragtime that you hear from the 70s is kind of piano based, I would say. The ragtime we have at this time is, I think it was being composed on piano, and Scott Joplin was the most famous composer. But as you'll hear, the actual recordings, not so much. We don't really have any of that form. It's performed by bands or by soloists, not usually on piano. So here's one. This is Mr. R. White with Ragtime Frolics. Mr. R. White, presumably not the man,
not the lemonade man,
not the lemonade man. There seems to have been a pseudonym of some sort, but I can find nothing about him apart from that. B. Whitelock is his real name. I've searched for that as well, but I've also found nothing. Okay, so that was Mr. R. White, or Mr. B. Whitelock, with a bit of ragtime. It's called Ragtime Frolics. Is that the kind of ragtime you were expecting?
Not necessarily, and I was probably expecting more the sort of piano-based thing, because I think that's what more people are familiar with. You know, the Scott Joplin played either from that time or recorded in latter years by people like Joshua Rifkin in the 70s.
Yeah, there was a big revival at that point, wasn't there? I think the deal with ragtime is that, and with we don't have any barbershop this time, but the deal with that as well is it's kind of, these are revival ideas. It doesn't really reflect what's recorded at this time, which is odd and interesting. We have 3 different strands of ragtime. You've got the piano stuff that we don't really hear. We've got these bands playing it, and we've got the pop side of it, which this is a lady called Sophie Tucker. Have you heard of Sophie Tucker before?
Yes.
She's quite famous in her day, although you might not have heard of her now. She was born in the Ukraine, but lived most of her life in America. A singer, comedian, actress and radio personality later, known for a powerful delivery of comical and risque songs. And she was called the last of the Red Hot Mamas. Very popular in her time, and performing things that sound a little bit like blues songs before there were blues songs. So a bit odd. It's a large Jewish Russian, well, a large Jewish Ukrainian lady performing these songs, which into the 1920s you'd expect to be blues songs, but at this point they're really not. They're still called ragtime.
The loving rag fills you with joy and joyful jag. It makes you glad, your heart is meant to have the loving rag. Your honey gal clothes close to your breast, oh, you dance the rag. You love the best, say you never wanna stop that loving rag. Oh, lordy, 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 hear that tune. I'll forget my home and mother mighty soon. Keep right on the rag and not a step I miss. I tell you, babe, hold me nothing like this. Put your arms around me, we glide along. I feel myself a-slipping, I mean no wrong. Close your eyes, my babe, we dance till morn. That doggone loving rag. Oh, you hear that music softly play, say, I could dance all night and day. The loving rag, the bombashell, come on, get out of my way. I want a brass band playing for me, no Gilmore's or Susie's orchestra. Jolly loving article of harmony is a loving rag. Oh, that rag, babe, the loving rag, the bombashell, come on, get out of my way. I want a brass band playing for me, no Gilmore's or Susie's orchestra. The only loving article of harmony is a loving rag.
So that was Sophie Tucker with that loving rag. Have you heard any Sophie Tucker before?
I probably have, but I would be pushed to name any.
Okay. She has a few songs that were fairly well known. We will hear another one next week. We'll hear another one next time. So this is one side of ragtime. We've got the pop songs. The other side, which is a little bit more surprising, that feeds into jazz, is nothing to do with ragtime. It's a different tradition entirely, which is the American marching band tradition, which we kind of think of as I don't know, American marching band's definitely not a cool thing to listen to these days, and not something I would have listened to otherwise. But going from the 1890s through to now, you can see this is what's going to turn into jazz, really. This actually one more year until we get to the first kind of hints of that, the hot ragtime. I would describe this phase of band music as kind of up-tempo performances with kind of peacocking solos on top. This is Sousa's band. This is John Philip Sousa,
yeah,
who was the king of the marching bands, and he didn't record. He made, I think, 1 or 2 recordings because he hated recorded music. He said it was canned music, and he refused to participate in it at all. But his band, they recorded a lot of good music, and you can really listen to their stuff right up until about this point, or a year or 2 later, before it starts turning into military music again, with the First World War, I believe. So this is Dancing Girl by Sousa's band. So that was Sousa's band with Dancing Girl. You're listening to Centuries of Sound on Cambridge 105, and I'm here talking about the year 1910 and playing music from that year. So, what do you think of that tune? How would you describe that?
Lively.
Yeah, for sure.
He sort of, a lot of his stuff was to do with sort of marching with a military aspect. Probably not that militaristic, that one.
Yeah, I think it sounds strangely chaotic. You can't imagine soldiers marching up and down to that. They would be in a mess.
In a jumble, yeah.
And it reminds me a little bit of cartoon music as well.
Yes, I know what you mean. It's sort of almost like a sort of somebody darting around, chasing, looking around, darting backwards and forwards.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it, this is the period, the people making those cartoons. It's their childhood. They'd be remembering music from this time. Let's have one more bit of this band music, so I'm going to call it. This is another guy who was in Sousa's band. He's called Arthur S. Whitcomb, and the US Marine Band, who, that should be Sousa's band. That should be the same people. But the collection of individuals who got into the studio on this day,
effectively session musicians, I think we're talking, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there were a few people who appear in a lot of these recordings because they were near the studio and they got regular work. But anyway, this one's called Arthur S. Whitcomb and the US Marine Band. That's what they've called themselves this time. And Arthur S. Whitcomb was a cornetist from Birmingham, the one in England, not the one in Alabama. And he went over to the USA and joined the US Marine Band. So he really joined America in the strongest way possible there. And he was appointed the second leader of the band in 1927. So he stuck to this later on. But here he is playing a cornet solo in this excellent cornet solo, I'd say. Okay, so that was the premiere with it's by Arthur S. Whitcomb and the United States Marine Band.
Probably the finest Brummie expat cornetist of all time.
Quite possibly. If anyone can suggest another one, there may be another one. The cornet didn't really survive. I think it's Louis Armstrong who killed it off. He decided to switch to the trumpet, and everyone followed suit somewhere at the end of the 20s. But it was the big instrument at this point. All the star brass players were playing the cornet. So there's quite a lot of music like that, with that kind of backing, with somebody kind of riffing off it. What kind of thing did that sound like to you? Do you think?
A bit like the sort of thing you might hear in the background of a silent movie, which, I mean, silent movies mostly would have been made probably 10, 15 years after this, really, I guess, wouldn't it?
Quite a lot of them. We do have Hollywood kind of starting up just around this time.
There were some around this time, weren't there? But the ones that we've probably seen. So yeah, that sort of struck a chord with me in that way. I thought, you could, hear it on that. Other than that, I mean, it almost to me sounded like it's a bit of an exercise for him to. Yeah,
I don't know. You wouldn't say it had soul, would you?
No.
Definitely not.
Technically very proficient, but probably not something you'd sit and listen to endless times.
Yeah, that's kind of the aspect we're missing there a bit. That's why this kind of stuff seems like ultimately it's a dead end. I mean, it's an interesting dead end, but it's still and it doesn't really go much further than 1910. I think maybe this is the last example of this. We've had quite a few over the last decade. Let's listen to something a bit different. I have some vaudeville sketches. Comedy from 110 years ago. Is it going to be funny? What do you reckon?
There's only one way to find out, really.
Yeah, there is. This first one, it's ethnic comedy, it's called. Fortunately, in this case, the ethnicity is Irish, and the guy is of Irish descent. So it's not actually offensive, although if you're Irish and listening,
I mean, stand by for some complaints. You never know.
Well, quite possibly. So it is as everything like at this stage is. It's a kind of caricatures, but perhaps it's funny as well. Well, let's find out.
Let's see.
It's Steve Porter, American recording artist of Irish descent.
If you listen, I will sing about. Well, go on. Sing about. Anyhow, I'm going to make a bluff. Go on, make it. As I said before, I'll sing about.
You said that before.
Sing about. In fact, I think I sung about.
Sung about what?
Sung about enough. I beg pardon, Professor. I'm so excited. Oh, say, I must tell you about how I come to get married. When I first met her, I says to her, "May I call you Ginny?" She says, "You may if you want to, but me name is Pauline Joy." Then I says to her, "Miss Joy, you certainly are a thing of beauty." And she says, "I don't want to be called a thing of beauty." "Why not?" says I. "Because," says she, "a thing of beauty is a joy forever, and I don't want to be a joy forever." I was wise, so I says to her, "Do you think tonight would be a good time to ask your father?" She says it was, because he had rheumatism in both feet. But I wouldn't take a chance, so I called him on the phone, and he says, "I don't know who you are, me boy, but it's all right, you can have her." So I bought an engagement ring, but Pauline discovered a flaw in the diamond. I says to her, "Pay no attention to it, you know lovers blind." "I know it is," says she, "but it's not stone blind." The foxy kid. Well, sir, I'll never forget the night of the wedding. The boys were all outside throwing rice and old shoes at us, and one of the gang went to a lot of trouble. He cooked the rice into a pudding and threw the whole thing to once. It missed me, but it caught Pauline in the eye. Oh, say, Professor, give me a little chills and fever, and I'll tell you about the rat in Pauline's hair. Beneath her chanticleer bonnet, with a rooster upon it, was a rat in her hair who was so brave that he went in swimming with Pauline and other women and got drowned in her Marcel wave.
Right, so there's Mr. Steve Porter with Flanagan's Courtship, it was called. What did you make of
It
that?
amused me a little bit, but probably because it's so of its time.
Yeah.
You know, not that much sophisticated, but it was quite fast paced though.
Yeah,
It moved quickly.
you kind of think of that wisecracking kind of vaudeville routine with a double act.
I think a lot of them had to be quite fast paced, because if they hesitated, they got things thrown at them and booed off. And stuff like
yeah.
that. So, I suspect that. Interestingly, I mean, you say he's of Irish descent. I wonder how far back, because he sounded very much like one of those Americans putting on an Irish accent. So
Yeah, I think also what was going on this time is people were making records or cylinders for particular markets, and I think this is for the Irish market rather than making fun of them.
yes, yeah.
I think that was the deal.
More a cultural celebration, perhaps.
But yeah, Steve Porter was quite interesting. He recorded a lot of cylinders and records around this time. And he, as an entrepreneur, he established the recording industry in India.
Oh, really?
Somehow. I'm not sure about the details of how he did that. And he also successfully marketed a new form of hearing aid.
Ah.
So, a man of many talents.
Yes.
Yeah. Another vaudeville comedian now. This guy's called Murray K. Hill. This is a pseudonym. He was really called Joseph Tunnicliffe Pope Jr. And this is called Father's Eccentricities.
Well, here I am once more upon the rostrum. Now I'm going to try and sing you a little song dedicated to to any judge you wish to name. A little song entitled You May Be Deaf, but You'll Have Your Hearing in the Morning. The butcher one day came down in his rig, but Father was out. The butcher, he said that he came for a pig, but Father was out. Excuse me, did I tell you the title of this song? The title of the song is Father is Out. All right, Professor. Pa joined the militia, but when we had war, Father was out. The sergeant, he came and he knocked on our door, but Father was out. Says Ma to the sergeant, this will break my heart, but Dad was the very first man to depart. Down to the depot to see the troops start. That's why Father's out. Father was out. Father was out. Father was no hero. He knew what he's about. For all of that day till the troops got away, Father stayed out. Pa went to the village to blow in his tin, for Father was out. They have a hotel there, they call it the Inn, but they threw Father out. While inside the inn, Father was a disgrace. He called for a punch, tried to clean out the place. Well, they gave him a punch, but a punch in the face, and Father went out. Father was out. Father was out. The landlord was a scrapper, and loudly he did shout, if you ever come here, you'll go out on your ear. So Father stayed out. You know, Father was the most absent-minded man that ever lived. Just to show you how absent-minded Father was, we had a big bulldog up to our house that Father thought the world of, and every night when Father came home, before Father'd put himself to bed, Father'd always kick this dog downstairs. Well, the other night Father came home, he had on one of his absent-minded streaks. He was thinking of something else, and Father, instead of putting himself to bed and kicking the dog downstairs, Father put the dog to bed, and Father kicked himself downstairs. Then Father prowled around the streets all night looking for rats, cats, and other kind of dogs, and Father never noticed the difference till he tried to bark in the morning. Then Father discovered he's the wrong dog. We're going to put a muzzle on Father tomorrow. But you know, Father was a great traveler and a school teacher, and while Father was traveling, he was always teaching school. And this is the way Father read his ABCs. A stands for Atlanta, a B's for Boston town, C stands for Chicago, where the hold-up man abounds. A D stands for Denver, where they cure your lungs and liver. E stands for Evansville on the Mississippi River. Wait a minute! On the Mississippi River. F stands for Fall River, Frankfurt too as well. G stands for Grand Rapids, and H stands for... Wait a minute! H stands for Helena. I stand for Indianapolis, where the Indians found. J stands for Jersey City, where mosquitoes weigh a pound. K stands for Kansas City. L for Louisville, I hear.
M stands for Milwaukee. Milwaukee stands for beer. And is New York City the place to go and a hop? A man from Arkansas came there and lost his little rock. O stands for Omaha. Don't think the town's a joke. A P stands for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh stands for smoke. A Q stands for Quincy, I for Rochester, but T is the strongest thing they drink out in Topeka. U's for Utica, while Vicksburg is the town that goes with V. W's for Wheeling, West Virginia. XY, that's got the best of me. Z's for Zone up at the North Pole, where Old Glory is unfurled. But the whole country showing by the way that she's growing, we lead the entire world.
Okay, Murray Cahill there with Father's Eccentricities.
I was a bit off the wall, really.
Yeah, surreal comedy from Murray Cahill there. Flights of Fancy, bizarre Flights of Fancy he was taking.
Not hugely amusing, to be honest, if I'm brutally honest about it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this isn't the best example. He made quite a few different of these. I like how fast-paced and surreal at the same time. Just the bizarre.
It's similar to the Steve Porter one. He's moving quickly, isn't he? He's not delaying. There's no sort of laconic, slow delivery.
No.
There's none of that.
You got to get it out there before the audience loses their focus on what you're doing. Let's go to the other side of the Atlantic now. We have less recordings from the UK than we do from America during this period. However, this is one artist who recorded quite a lot. It's George Formby.
Oh, one of my favourites.
Although it's not that George Formby, I'm afraid.
It's his father.
It's his father, George Formby Senior. Do you know much about his father?
Only that he was a performer, and I don't know a lot about him. Was he? I don't know. I've got vague memories. I've read about him somewhere, but.
Well, he was active at this time, and for the next 10 years or so, he was called the Wigan Nightingale. He's from Wigan, and he grew up in the worst poverty. The stories are unbelievable about the situation when he was a child. But he got by as a child by performing, and then he was called the Wigan Nightingale because he had bronchial cough caused by tuberculosis, which he incorporated into his act. And he died in 1921 from said disease, exacerbated by the Spanish flu. And his son took over his act.
Never looked back.
Yeah, and you'll notice he's got the same voice. So it was copied by his son to take over. He doesn't have the ukulele. I think that's the one big difference, though. So this is George Formby Senior with Standing at the Corner of the Street.
I'm a Boy Scout. When Egan Smith ran second in the Derby last July, I was standing at the corner of the street. A fella dressed in uniform could easily see that I was standing at the corner of the street. He treated me and told me that the country wanted men. In lifeguard's clothes he said I'd look a treat. He gave to me a shilling and I signed my name, and then I was standing at the corner of the street. And for standing at the corner of the street, they dressed me up with spurs upon my feet. They put me on a horse's back to teach me how to ride. When I fell off, the riding master came to me and cried, "However did you come to be a soldier?" I replied, "I was standing at the corner of the street." Bronchitis. I'm tight tonight on chest. I could do with a strengthening bottle. Now once when I was a lad, I was standing at the corner of the street. I landed there at 10 o'clock. I'd made it quite a rule to be standing at the corner of the street. The teacher came and caught me, humbled at the knees. You're late again, then kicked me with his feet. Said he tell me the reason why. So I said, if you please, I was standing at the corner of the street. And for standing at the corner of the street, in store for you, he said, I've got a treat. Then he laid me on a form, and with his cane he gave a frown. He put some stripes upon my pants, they were pink, red, white and brown. And after that, for many a day, instead of sitting down, I was standing at the corner of the street. Well, good night all, and God bless you. Now then, lads, give me a cord off.
George Formby Sr. there with Standing at the Corner of the Street.
You can see where George Formby Jr. got his voice from.
Yeah, completely.
Where he got it from, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can hear he's a seasoned performer. He knows his act very well, and his character that he kind of created is in a way copied by Charlie Chaplin for The Tramp.
Yes, yeah.
So it very important artist and kind of forgotten apart from as a father.
Charlie Chaplin, another one who had similar sort of impoverished, awful childhood. And,
oh right.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, it wasn't very nice for lots of people in the UK, late Victorian era. No. Let's have a listen to some. I guess you'd later call it barbershop.
Mm-hmm. Although
at this point it's not called barbershop. That was a much later invention as far as the name goes. And it's Arthur Collins and Byron Harlan. Arthur Collins is the Edwardian Elvis, I call him. He's the hugely important recording artist this time. He recorded so many cylinders, so many records, but unfortunately he did a lot of them as an impersonation of a black man, so they're unacceptable to listen to in the 21st century. But I think it's a shame because there is some good stuff in there all the same. And this is he had a duo with Byron Harlan and Billy Murray, who's another recording artist. He called them the half-ton duo, as they were both quite large.
Will you listen to what I say? Please come back home, I'm all alone, my poor heart's been all day. Oh, have a little sympathy, and honey, babe, just pity me. No more I'll yearn if you return, contented I will be. I love you. When the day am I just about a dawn and I'm a dreaming of. About you, I'm thinking, love me, baby, I could never live without you for a number, and I'm always dreaming of you. Oh, honey, babe, this time has come when you and I should be made one. Come to my side and be my bride, let Cupid's work be done. And then no more we two shall part. I hope to die, I'll cross my heart. For you I'll wait, don't hesitate, pack up and make a start. I love you. When the day am I just about a dawn and I'm a dreaming of you. Someday, every morning I'm a dreaming of you. Season comes, I'm a thinking about you. I'm a thinking, love me, baby, I can never live without you for a summer, and I'm always dreaming of you. When the day am I just about a dawn and I'm a dreaming of you. Come day and date every morning I'm a dreaming of you. Evening comes and I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking, lovely baby, I can never live without you. For it's from the last I'm always a dreaming of you.
So that was Arthur Collins and Byron G. Harlan with I'm a Dreamin' of You. I'd say that's kind of what we call barbershop. It's a vocal group of this time.
Yeah,
I
but
think
it's interesting to hear. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm sort of receptive to things like that. You know, a well-written song or something that's, you know, performed well or with some sort of meaning and feeling to it.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it's got quite nice counter melodies. I think you described those as there. It's not a bad song, I'd say. This is we're gonna have one more kind of a Tin Pan Alley hit, and this one's called "Come Josephine in My Flying Machine," and this one's been written about recently because the satirical website of The Onion did a joke magazine, did an article about a music fan who was annoyed. He was annoyed because this had been left off Pitchfork's Best of the 1910s list. It's an article which seems to be directly making fun of me. So, although it's not, I should clearly say but
it could be.
We've worked out it's another person who's putting together something slightly similar, where they've sourced that actual thing from. Just quite a compliment, I would say.
Yeah.
This version is not the one they talk about by Blanche Ring. This is a version performed by Billy Murray and Ada Jones, two of the most recorded artists at this time.
Oh, say, let us fly, dear.
Where, kid?
To the sky, dear.
Oh, you flying machine.
Jump in, Miss Josephine.
Hip-ahoy!
Oh, joy, what a feeling.
We'll go through the ceiling so high.
Hoopla, we fly to the sky so high.
Come, Josephine, in my flying machine, going up she goes, up she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on a beam in the air. She goes, there she goes, up, up, a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come, Josephine, in my flying machine, going up, all on goodbye. Going up she goes, up she goes. In the air she goes, there she goes, up, up. Oh my!
Going up,
All on goodbye.
come Josephine in my flying machine, going up she goes, up she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on a beam in the air. She goes, there she goes, up, up, a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up,
All on.
goodbye.
All right, so that's Ada Jones and Billy Murray with "Come Josephine in My Flying Machine." So the latest technology, of course, flying machines.
Time, yeah.
Yeah, and exciting. I mean, we had a decade earlier, we had lots of songs about cars, and now we're getting songs about planes.
It's interesting actually, because I noticed there was the in one of the comedy routines, somebody mentioned calling someone on the phone, didn't they? And that was only 35 years after the phone was invented. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, like the word hello was invented for the phone, and that's why we say the word hello. So there's the Hello My Baby from 1899, which is all about using the phone. So technology songs that don't really seem like technology right now, but yeah, they are. Shall we have a listen to something from not the Anglosphere, but from the rest of the world? This is I really have no information about this. When I search for this, I find my own blog and nothing else. It's easy to say. It's Banda Odeon with Zé Pereira. So it's from a Spanish-speaking country. That's as much as I can tell you, and except that it's good. So let's hear it.
Zé Pereira, gravado pelo Grupo Odeon para Casa Edson, Rio de Janeiro. Zé Pereira.
So Banda Odeon there, I think perhaps a Mexican marching band.
Yeah, I would possibly, yes. I mean, I wouldn't argue with that. Or somewhere South American, Mexican, Central American.
There's a lot of recordings at this point. Well, they're available on. There's a couple of different websites. There's University California Santa Barbara. They've got this huge recording cylinder archive, and archive.org. There's one called Russian Records. But quite often they don't come with extensive notes or anything like that.
Probably because there weren't any.
No. In fact, if this is from a cylinder, which it sounds like, because he says Edison at the start, then we're lucky we even know the name. Just written around the side of it. I think perhaps it wasn't even written there, it's just somebody's transcribed it from the audio, because they're still announcing the names of things at the beginning. Which you don't find after 1910, really. I think this is kind of the end of that. Although cylinders are still going to be around for another decade or so, we're still going to have a few cylinders. We are kind of transitioning to 78 RPM discs now. Okay, something else Spanish. This is Resurrección Chicano. Resurrección Chicano. Okay, I'm calling her Resurrección Chicano. Resurrección Chicano. Do you speak Spanish at all?
I don't. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I've just been to Spain, so.
Okay.
Obviously, Resurrección Quijano.
Quijano. Okay. I'm thinking that's a chi because I'm thinking it's Chinese, but obviously it's not. She's from Spain. She was born in 1890. That's all I've got about her. So this is Spanish rather than Mexican.
Okay.
And it's the song is called Sarasa.
Sarasa, voy a ponerle 4 botones a mi camisa. Sarasa, me va la fiesta. música dice, si me la cortas yo me divorcio. Zaraza de banda senta, zaraza de caña. En cambio si no hay mujeres, zaraza bien y zaraza mal.
So that was called Sarasa. I think Spanish for sure. It's from a huge CD of early Spanish music, which is 90% unlistenable, I have to say. But some of it like that is
okay.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Keeping in the Spanish-speaking world, let's go to Paraguay. And in Paraguay they have this guy called Agustin Barrios. It's not a name I'd heard of before I started putting the show together. Have you heard of this guy, Agustin Barrios?
I don't think so, no.
He was kind of the most important guitar player pre-20s, I would say, pre-1930. Virtuoso classical guitarist, one of the most prolific composers for the guitar. And this is what the guitar sounded like before the blues came along. You're listening to Centuries of Sound on Cambridge 105, and today we're listening to the sounds of the year 1910. We've just heard Agustin Barrios with a Iota guitar solo. Can we call that classical guitar?
I don't know, to be honest. I wouldn't know, but it's not. It's a more. I call it more strummy than picky.
Yeah. He had a lot going on there, different bits there. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. There were chords there. It wasn't just picking out notes a classical kind of thing that you'd imagine. Yeah. Kind of his own sound, perhaps. You don't hear anything else like that, I would say.
Yeah.
And does it have an influence? I think because South America, perhaps the early kind of tango stuff, you could say. Although Argentina, Paraguay, it's not the same place, of course.
No, but I'm sure there must be some sort of crossover.
Yeah, for sure.
Development of dance and music in that subcontinent.
This is the Fisk University Jubilee Quartet. Fisk University. Have you heard of the Fisk University?
No.
It's the first time I'd heard of it. So they're very important. It seems I should know about it, but they're an African American a cappella ensemble. So it's consisting of students at Fisk University. So it was first organised in 1871. And it's still going now. So one of those groups that's been going around for 150 years. Although obviously the members have changed every couple of years. Current students there, and they're kind of a bridge between. We don't really have any recordings of early blues, so we just kind of have. I don't know. It's not gospel yet, but you can hear it's going to get there. And this particular recording was added to the United States National Recording Registry, which not a lot of songs are, and it's the earliest recorded version of "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot."
Going for the carry me home. I'm sometimes up and I'm sometimes down, coming for to carry me home. But still my soul feels the heavenly sound, coming for to carry me home. Sing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home, tell all my friends for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me
On Cambridge 105 Radio.
You've been listening to Centuries of Sound on Cambridge 105 Radio. I've been James Errington.
I'm George Kirkman.
And if you want to find out more about Centuries of Sound, you can come to our website at centuriesofsound.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or all those places. If you want to contact me, I'm james at centuriesofsound.com. And where can we hear your shows?
On the Cambridge 105 Radio every alternate Saturday, so you have to really check the station site just to make sure which Saturday it is, between the hours of 9 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Okay, well, let's finish today with a lovely recording by a guy called Raymond Hitchcock, who is mostly famous as a silent film actor, and this is a kind of maudlin tune, but kind of beautiful, and it's called So What's the Use?
Some call this the best old world that nature could contrive. One thing sure, that none of us get out of it alive. Things go on year after year in much the same old style. Makes us sometimes wonder whether anything's worthwhile. No one knows just where this world is going to so fast. Life's one great conundrum which we all give up at last. All the dreaming, all the scheming since the days of yore seems to land us just precisely where we were before. So what's the use of all these cunning little babies growing up to homely men? So what's the use of people growing old and dying if we've got to rise again? Oh, what's the use of lending anyone a 5 spot if next time he borrows 10? All single folks, 'tis said, will always wish that they were wed, and those who are wish they were dead. So what's the use? What's the use of drinking if you've always got a thirst? 20 drinks will make you far more thirsty than the first. Seems to me to take a bath is such a hopeless case. You'll get dirty once again and wash the same old face. What's the use of giving good advice to people now? Wise men need it not, and fools won't take it anyhow. Take the straight and narrow path, the parsons always say. What's the use of telling that to people on Broadway? Oh, what's the use of fellas having lots of push if someone else has got a pull? Oh, what's the use of speculating all your cash if you're a bear, you make a bull? Oh, what's the use of people calling you a bear if they fleece you for your wool? It is the old bull, Con, you're just a lamb, and later on, you're a lobster when it's gone, so what's the use?
Patrons get full downloads, radio podcasts, bonus mixes and more for just $5 per month. Join them at patreon.com/centuriesofsound.